Hello, everyone. My name's Graham Cleland. I'm head of communications at Burness Paul. We're one of the largest commercial law firms in Scotland. We have a wide range of different clients and services, very much a full service law firm. So if it's anything business to business at all, we've usually got a lawyer that can help you solve your problem. And I'm here today to talk to you about our mission to create a human and high performing website. To give you a bit of context for that, if we wind back just over a year ago now, we set out to refresh the brand for the firm. It's always been a pretty stylish law firm, as much as a law firm can be anyway, Burness Paul, and places a pretty high premium on its brand. But we felt that it had been time for an update after a previous very successful iteration. So we actually set out to refresh the brand because we knew that we wanted to bring on a new website. We did a lot of research in the process of that, both through focus groups internally and externally. And really the two comments that kept coming through when you asked people how you would sum up Burness Paul was that the lawyers are brilliant, fantastic individuals. They deliver an outstanding service. And then the other thing that really came through, both from colleagues in terms of the working environment day to day, and also from clients, and the bit of feedback that they gave usually was, some lawyers can be very technical and down the middle, but they always felt that our lawyers sort of had a certain human quality about them and were much more relatable. And dare I say it, even someone mentioned the word fun, and they enjoyed spending time with their lawyer, which I believe is not replicated right across the board, but I won't cast aspersions on any other firm. So they were the two bits of feedback that we really, consistently got through. And so essentially that's the essence that underpins the new brand, is human high performing. It's very much not a strapline. You will not see it next to our logo or anything like that, but you might occasionally hear people talking about the two separate things in isolation when they're trying to describe, how the firm goes about its business. So we went through a fairly big rebranding process around the look and feel, updating the tone of voice, a lot of the imagery and things like that as well, because we wanted to be sure that that was all in place, and both the design of any new website and really the copy that flowed from it, etc. Really knew what that was about. I think the problem we were trying to solve with that was that because we have so many distinct parts of our law firm, individually, those parts all had very strong brands and ideas of what they offered to clients in their various sectors. And before that, there maybe hadn't been such a cohesive brand underpinning it for the firm itself. So that's what we set out to achieve. And it was a fairly intensive process, but we felt we got there, and something that people could really relate to, and it was well received both within the business and by clients. So that really gave us a platform then to set about building a new website. That was a bit of a contentious issue, I think, when we started out. So just to give you a flavour, I've now been at Burness Paul for 3 years, something like that, and the previous website had been around for it had been pretty successful for the firm when it was first built. It looked great. It was pretty advanced, but there hadn't been much investment in it since then. It still looked okay on the outside, but it was built on very old architecture. Not everything worked really as well as it should, and some of the dots hadn't been joined really with then subsidiary sites that popped up for other parts of the business around a graduate site. It was hosted separately. It looked different. There's a few things like that, and there's sort of campaign websites had been put up ad hoc, so it was a little bit disjointed. And the truth behind that was that the firm had just grown so much, probably in the previous 10 years. There hadn't been a dedicated digital manager before my time, and that was one of the first things that I did, was persuaded the board to appoint somebody into that position to then give us a roadmap to how we would not just build a new website, but then integrate some new marketing tech right across the board. So brand in place, then we had some dedicated digital resource, and we went out to market to look for a partner that could help us achieve this human and high performing website. Now, the first thing I would say is, I hadn't personally worked with Squiz before. Our digital marketing manager had, and rated them very highly. We went out to market, and I think we took 6 different agencies and asked them all to pitch. And there were some great proposals, but really reason why we went with Squiz, we felt that they offered a really high quality product. They were really methodical in the way that they approached the pitch. And one of the things that really sold it to us was their focus on the research piece in advance of building it. So it wasn't just, we can build you a flashy website, it's going to be fantastic. It was really heavily accented on, we will find out what people use your current website for, what they like and dislike about it, and then actually test them on what they want from any new website, so that before you go out and spend a huge amount of money making something that looks pretty, it is actually going to fulfill that purpose and really work for the business. And we did have major problems with it, the previous website, by that point, because as much as it looked nice on the outside, it didn't rank well for SEO. So we were pretty invisible. If you typed in, law firm Scotland or corporate lawyers, we were nowhere, which is crazy considering, at that point we were fast approaching sort of 60 million turnover, and we're one of the highest rated law firms in the business. So that was a big problem to solve. And also we had no mobile functionality at all. There was a mobile site in place, but it was extremely old technology, and it was separate from the original website. So there was just a catalogue of cardinal sins that had accrued over the years. So we were really going back to scratch and looking for something that could tick all those boxes. So just to explain the phases that we went through, we carried out pretty extensive testing and interviews with stakeholders within our firm. We got the lawyers to select a cohort of clients for different types of clients, and Squiz did a great job of setting up testing and interviews for them. We did Hotjar testing, TreeJack testing, etc. And the results were fascinating. They were a real eye-opener in terms of, what was popular, what people actually used the website for. There was a lot of preconceived ideas within the law firm about what the website should do or what clients used it for. But going through that process, that sort of discovery process, I can't, tell you how invaluable that was. It really, really helped. Lawyers love evidence, as you would expect. So when they got the reports back and they could see what their clients were saying, it really helped educate them as to, the functionality of the website and what wasn't working very well at all, and the clarity that was required going forward that would really help people access the information they need. And then we did audience profiling as well, just mapping out the types of users we have, because it is such a broad client base and they do use us for so many different things. They have quite different needs. The one really overriding piece of research, the sort of findings that came through very, very strongly, was that maybe unsurprisingly, people really wanted to get to find the right type of lawyer very, very quickly. So there was a huge premium on being able to come onto a law firm's website and quickly try and find somebody who would solve a problem, because most of the time buying legal services is a distressed purchase. There is not many people who need to use a lawyer for fun, but they are using it for pretty weighty issues and dealing with business problems and things like that. So if they could not find the type of lawyer that they wanted to very quickly and were reassured by that lawyer's presentation and presence on the website, they would go elsewhere. That was one of the big bits of research. So it really had to be a people-focused website. And I think one of the things that came through in the sort of research phase was that people couldn't always find that, and there was too much content about divisions and practice areas and what they did, and it was a bit disjointed. And I suppose one of the faults that showed up was, I think, and this is probably a trait common to law firms and maybe some professional services firms across the board, but certainly law firms, when we were analysing other people's sites, was that if lawyers had been involved in the process of building them, they tended to take their internal org chart and replicate that onto the website. And law firms are really complicated. There's a lot of crossover between, practice areas and divisions and sector groups and what lawyers do. And they tend to want it all on there, to cover all the bases, to make sure that, any type of client can't miss those things. When the truth is that really what they want when they come onto the website is quickly get to identify who they want to speak to, they can solve their problem and be able to contact them straight away. So it was really about simplifying the process of being able to find people. And the search function on our previous website was one of the worst parts about it. It didn't ever return the right results, and it was very, very difficult to fine tune. So that was a huge red flag already. So we knew we had to fix that problem straight away. The research showed that the mobile functionality was an issue that people really expected these days, that if they had a problem that they could look it up on their tablet or their smartphone, etc. Some of them would be happy to look through news updates, etc., from their desktop if they happened to get an email from us and so on. But definitely, the requirement was that it should look better mobile, and they should be able to find those people via mobile as well. So the search had to be just as good on mobile and be just as intuitive as it was when they were using their desktop. The other thing that was really a must for us when we were going to build the website was from a careers point of view. So law firms really are all about the talent that they have. If you want to choose why is one law firm better than another, quite a lot of it is to do with how good their lawyers are, and if you know them, or if they've got a good reputation in the market and they've been recommended to you as well. So law firms really do live and die by the talent they have on board, and a big part of that is bringing people through your system. And that's a competitive marketplace. All law firms want the brightest talent coming out of universities and effectively have to sell themselves to them. So, we had previously a very sort of separate and outdated graduate website, which we were keen to sort of bring within the main body of the church, so to speak. But really, one of the KPIs was around how can we better increase our visibility and sell our brand to graduates and trainee prospects better, and the bottom line was how could we increase applications from them, how could we attract them to the firm and make that all seamless for them as well, because it was a little bit clunky before. So those were the main things that we were trying to solve. Improved user experience, definitely improve SEO visibility, drive a bit more traffic, but also really drive more applications from prospective trainees, etc. So, we found out a huge amount through that discovery process at the start. It was totally invaluable. We're very grateful to Squiz for guiding us through that. I think without their methodical approach, there may have been some elements of our the legal side of our business would have professed to know a little bit more about what clients want than maybe was apparent when the reports came through. So, and just on that, to really explain how we set up and approach this, Squiz went away and they did all of that, but we formed a steering committee within the firm, and what we were very aware of was that I think previously when website projects and digital projects had been attempted by the firm, there was senior level lawyers involved, some who are tech aware and do understand digital, but a lot that truthfully weren't really, although they were interested in the website. And I think it'd been problematic politically as well. So in an attempt to head that off at the pass, we effectively formed a steering committee that drew from all parts of the firm, both on the legal side and the non-legal side. So there was myself as head of comms, and I was really there to play referee more than anything else. Then we had a digital manager, for obvious reasons, who had all the technical knowledge to bring to it and manage the relationship with anybody that was inputting to it. Then we had our managing partner, who is a lawyer but effectively heads up the operational side of the business. We had our head of HR, because HR was a big stakeholder in terms of integrating that graduate attraction piece. And we had our head of IT as well. And although IT don't have a huge stake in the website, technically they're very sound, and they could ensure that also when we're looking at adding other services to the website, that it was going to integrate with the rest of our stack and the rest of our IT infrastructure. And they are very, very good at what they do on that side of things. So it was a real key stakeholder. There was a lot of debate around whether or not there should be lawyers from other heads of departments and at what time we should involve them at. So should they be right in that stage at the start so they know what's coming? Or should the website be taken to a level and a degree of presentation so we knew where it was going and then sold to them effectively? That was a relatively heated debate. There is a little bit of politics in a law firm around that stuff, but actually, as a steering committee, we settled on the fact that we would get through the sort of discovery stage, we would get through the design stage, and really agree on what was required. And then once it was built and up and running, it would be presented to the partners pretty much as a fait accompli, but with a little room for testing and refinement and things like that as well. But when you have 70 plus partners who are all technically owners of a law firm, you can see how complex it gets. So everything was about trying to I have to say that from our point of view, Squiz made the process of the discovery phase really simple. As I said, we got an awful lot out of it. We moved into the design phase. We're very lucky. We have, as I said, a very good sort of design and branding department within the firm who are absolutely superb at what they do. And they were able to work hand in hand with Squiz to really map out the vision for how the website would look and feel and incorporate all the new elements of the refreshed brand. So we felt that was, an advantage that we had maybe over some other law firms who didn't have as strong a brand and didn't have people with such a clear vision in that area, and maybe had to rely on outside guidance so much. But it was a really smooth process. Again, hats off to Squiz for the way they managed that. It was great, really, really enjoyable. The one thing I would say that we maybe struggled with at our end was that when we showed designs to the legal members of our steering committee, I would describe this sometimes as they think in very straight lines. They have a very evidence-based approach, and if you show them a design of something, they sometimes struggle to understand how exactly it will work and represent before it's created. So that was a little bit of a challenge from our point of view. I think for myself and our digital manager and our head of creative, we were able to quickly understand what Squiz were getting at when they said, well, actually, this will work like this, or if we move that here, it'll work like that. Lawyers are incredibly sharp people and amazingly good at what they do, but they don't always have that sort of creative vision around those sort of things, and most of them will admit to that. So that was a little bit of a challenge and caused us a few minor headaches in the design stage, but we did quickly get to a place where everybody was happy with the look and feel. Big step forward from where we were. Really, we felt we'd be ahead of our competition from a visual point of view, but also a user experience point of view. The good thing was that people in our firm are not too focused on what other law firms are doing. They're really interested in best practice from other industries. So we looked and benchmarked against some law firms that we thought were doing well, but really did look at other professional services and other brands in general to see what we could cherry pick from them. So design phase completed, we moved into the build phase. I think it's probably fair to say, and if this was live in the room, I think I'd get a few laughs out of people at Squiz to say that wasn't without its issues. So we got a fair way into our design phase, and our digital manager moved on, not because of the website project, I hasten to add, but he had to relocate abroad for a sort of life-changing opportunity. So he moved on, and we had another digital manager, which was a change. She very quickly picked up and did a magnificent job, but that was a difficult moment for us. It's, I think, always preferable if you have the same group involved all the way through. And as the build progressed, it became increasingly clear that the steering committee in our firm, who were brilliant and all over this, were still being leaned on to some degree by other senior people within the firm who hadn't been involved at the start. And I suppose there was a bit of a debate about how much or otherwise it would have made a difference had they been. I'm not sure it would in retrospect. We had a pretty good debrief, and I think those issues would have cropped up anyway, because people sort of still challenging the user experience and where things should sit. But truthfully, a lot of it was really just about where things appeared in menus, because there was a little bit of politics about, how important one bit of the firm was compared to another, and we were scrupulously trying to avoid that from the outset, but you can't eliminate it entirely. So again, Squiz were great, really patient with us. Had to put up with an awful lot. Probably one of the most challenging things that we encountered was the search function. So we all knew that was going to be a really important part of the build, that it was key that we got it right, that people could find lawyers as quickly as they want. But the lawyers were very demanding about the way search results appeared, and it quickly became apparent that they were looking for an extremely complex solution. So it wasn't good enough that if you searched, people appeared in alphabetical order, because then they wouldn't be in seniority. And seniority is very, very important in a hierarchical law. And truthfully, clients do want to generally find the most senior people first, the partners. And then, so they were keen that if search results were returned for a certain type of department or team, that they appeared in seniority first. But that gets you into some very technical hot water. It quickly became apparent. So that causes a bit of a delay where we had the internal discussions about that. And what was quite astonishing was that, Squiz explained that, look, you can either have it by seniority, or you could just have it by alphabetical order, but layering up those different searches is really, really challenging. And I don't think anybody that we explained that to quite appreciated just how challenging it was, and the cost implications of that as well. So there was a fairly long debate about it that slowed us down. Probably cost us a fair bit of extra money in trying out the various different options before they settled upon a solution. So it is amazing how something that is seemingly as innocuous as what order search results appear in suddenly becomes to dominate your whole project. So we did eventually get there. We got that solved, and we got all the refinements done in terms of making sure then that all the partners who headed up all the divisions were really happy with the copy on their sections, and everybody felt that they were in the right place, and we had in a great spot. And then actually we had a very late last minute intervention where something totally out of our control happened externally, and it put a bit of a question mark over some of the front page content that we were planning to have, and some of the branding, etc., which was really, really 11th hour, and certainly nobody could have predicted. So the decision was taken to delay the launch for operational reasons, create some slightly different branded content to lead, because they wanted to make a big splash. So we had to come up with an alternative. That was a headache for Squiz. I'm sure they won't mind me telling you. They were trying to launch other projects and websites at the time, and it was also a real headache for my team, the design and branding guys in particular, having to sort of completely rethink what was doing, and we had to spend again a fair bit of extra money that we hadn't expected to do. To be fair, we were very fortunate to work for a firm that understands the value of branding, and it was the choice of the firm to spend that money rather than my team. So that made it a bit easier to get it through the board. So the website ended up being delivered a fair bit later than anybody expected or wanted it to be, and that was certainly not the fault of Squiz, who were, as I said, patient beyond any measure with us. But I think the thing was that after even all those changes, that people were really, really happy with it, and we got so much positive feedback about how much effort had gone into it from senior people, how that it changed the way they thought about how the website would work, and they were pretty confident it would make a big impact with clients as well, even just from a look and feel point of view. So there was no getting away from the fact that at points it was a pretty arduous process. So the good news is that eventually, when we did get to launch, people were genuinely happy with it. We got very complimentary feedback, both from clients and actually from other professionals within the legal industry as well, which is always nice to be recognised by your peers. We didn't go for any sort of big shiny website launch. I am not really a fan from a PR point of view of sending out news releases saying, law firm launches new website. As a previous journalist, I don't really think that's news, and I don't really enjoy that when other companies do that either. But what we did do was sort of wrap it into another big piece of operational news for the firm, and creating some nice video content with that. So when clients got the sort of rebranded content and got to watch the video, it was sitting on our new website, and they got pulled through into that new environment, and that was their first big introduction to it. And so it was kind of a soft launch, but not because we didn't want to make a big splash, but just because we felt that would have a nice surprise factor for them. And there's no doubt they did notice that. So I think we were vindicated in that approach. And very quickly, I'm pleased to say that the mobile responsiveness, clients found that really helpful, and even our own lawyers occasionally, when they were going to look things up and send links on to people, they found that really useful when they were dealing with things with out of hours. But we very quickly began to see the benefits from an SEO point of view. So we'd struggled massively with that before. It was extremely frustrating, and we were very locked into a CMS system that was clunky, and we were very reliant on third parties to make changes for us. It was very expensive to do so that really discouraged the business from carrying out too much updating. To then being in a position where actually we could do all the changes in house. We could very quickly amend copy, amend imagery, really, go in depth with a bit of SEO support to understand what we were shooting for. And the one thing we've been incredibly fortunate at Burness Paul is we have lawyers who do produce a lot of really good content. So it's very rare that we have to go asking for it. They're very proactive. And we found that they might not necessarily start out thinking about SEO or how to write something for a particular audience. They're usually doing legal updates or some opinion pieces on sectoral stuff, but it doesn't take a lot of work to make it very SEO friendly. And when that's certainly paid off, we're seeing that some of our most high performing pages are the ones that we have given that TLC to from an SEO point of view, and it is now generating inquiries for those practice areas. So they are very, very happy. There are parts of the firm who, the more conservative elements had said in the sort of discovery process, I don't get any business through the website. That's not how I do business. I do it all face-to-face and referral, etc. But when you led them through the conversation about it all, and you asked them, well, how many emails or phone calls do you get a month, with new inquiries that you don't know the person and from, there was actually a fairly big percentage. And they were either coming through, media opportunities or events and digitally because people were searching for the firm. And we've definitely seen those going up because we've got an ability to track how many emails they get, how many phone calls they get from the website, as well as contact form signups and things like that. So, being able to give that kind of visibility and sort of demonstrate ROI has been huge. But also just to see the huge shift we've had in SEO has been fantastic. And, it feels great, I would say, from an internal point of view for me and my team to understand that, we can influence it and the changes we make do play through. So, that was really helpful. Again, being able to bring the career side of things back in-house has been a huge. We're just in the final stages of refreshing all of that in time for this year's graduate law fairs, etc., which will all be done virtually. So the digital aspect of that is really important too. But I think that's been great. We've been able to work with HR very closely on that. We've actually developed a distinct employer brand, which is an offshoot of the main one. So it's very much aimed at how do we attract talent and how do we sell, instead of the benefits of our products to clients and services, but how do we sell the benefits of working here as a firm and really the culture and the chemistry within it. So that's been huge, and I think HR have enjoyed the fact that they've been able to come to us as an internal team very directly and get help straight away, rather than have to go to a third party with their separate website, which was just repetitive. It was quite labor intensive, and it was expensive too as well. So that's really helped break down some silos within the firm. And I guess to sum up the progress, so before we set about creating the new website, there was a legal sector report, and it was a survey right across the legal sector in the UK, and it was the top 200 firms in the UK, and a digital agency had gone out and applied a set of KPIs to all the law firm websites and rated them. And so going back, was it 6 months, I think that happened, before we embarked on the new website project. I think we finished second bottom of that table in the UK, which is obviously terrible. It made even worse by the fact that the firm that finished bottom subsequently went out of business. So that was quite alarming. But that was probably one of the drivers that really hit home just how bad our digital capability was in the firm, and really pushed the legal side of the firm to do something about it. So that gives a lot of leverage and a lot of motivation to get it right. I'm glad to say we're obviously a lot further down the line. We're creating new content all the time. We're getting great results through the website. We're getting better analysing how it plays through, into new leads and new business, which is really helpful and is opening up more budget for us as well. But I'm glad to say that the latest iteration of that report came out, and I think we're now something like 65th out of the whole UK, which we're still not happy with. We think there's more room for improvement still, but that's not too bad considering we only launched in February this year. So it's a huge step forward from where we were. And so that's very pleasing. I guess it would have been pretty devastating if we hadn't done such a stellar improvement in that time. But we're certainly not resting on our laurels. We've got lots of ideas about how we can still develop the website and get it to add more value. And I think one of the things that really demonstrated the flexibility that the CMS gives us and Squiz Matrix gives us now that everybody's up to speed with it was when the pandemic broke. Now, our firm was very well geared up for that, actually. We'd had an experience a couple of years ago in the Beast from the East where everybody had to work from home for a week or so. And we were struggling with user licenses and things like that, even though we had laptops and the ability to, in theory, work from home, but it proved problematic from an operational point of view. And then subsequent to that, we did a lot of continuity planning revision within the firm and said that can't happen again. In worst case scenarios, if we're denied access to all of our offices, we've still got to function as a business. So we did spend quite a lot of money on our infrastructure and our tech from that point forward. And truthfully, we'd already been on a bit of a move to agile and remote working anyway. Certainly in my team and quite a few of the other non-legal teams, that had been in place anyway. And we had the ability to work from anywhere, using our laptops, using our mobiles. We could access all our systems. So people were able to do it while they were traveling to events or conferences and see clients and so on, or across our office network, and also just from home. So we'd enjoyed that benefit already a little bit. But obviously, it came to a head when the pandemic struck. And really, we'd seen which way that was going, and the firm took a proactive decision to send everybody home about a week and a half in advance to really test those structures to see if it would hold up to that many people working from home, etc. And really also because from a safety aspect, we didn't want people traveling to our offices and things like that too. So it was a very smooth transition and it worked fine. But what lawyers suddenly realized was if they couldn't go and meet their clients and they couldn't do their business development in the usual way, there was no events, everything was cancelled. How could they do it? And that was where, the platform that Squiz Matrix gave us allowed us to step up. We created, a dedicated coronavirus update hub because of the way it affected all different types of industries. Lawyers were all over the changing government guidelines. New laws were being introduced all the time, so clients really wanted that straight away, and we wanted to make sure that they had a really clear way into finding that on our website. And also suddenly webinars became a daily occurrence. Sometimes there was 2 or 3 webinars for different types of legal teams and their clients, and so the ability for us to create those events, host them on our website, for people to apply, to book for them through that, to be able to then, post the webinars once they've been recorded and share them across our social media channels, etc. It was brilliant. There was no doubt it was tons of hard work. There was lots of pressure on the team at that point as well. But it made such a huge difference, being able to do it all in-house and just how powerful and flexible Squiz Matrix was really proved itself at that point, and the product that they've given us, and they've been unstinting in their support. So it's been a great process. We still feel that we are really just at the end of phase 1, and we always kind of knew that was the case, which was, we need a new platform, we need to look nicer and work better, and I think we have definitely achieved that. There's no doubt about it. But we're only scratching the surface of the potential, and I'm glad to see that despite the fact that we can't do it in person, that we are still sitting down virtually with the team at Squiz and looking at what the requirements are going to be for phase 2, so that we can do some of the more sophisticated stuff in terms of automated marketing and surfacing content at certain times in certain ways, and just really customizing the user experience for people. That's quite an exciting prospect, and we're looking to do that over the next year now that we've got our sort of new annual budget signed off. And I think, in truth, the pandemic, underlining how important digital is, has kind of helped blow the wind in our direction, really, I suppose. I think it's probably, the new website engaged the rest of the firm more anyway, and started that interest, and they've been able to see really what it can do and the potential it offers since the pandemic hit. So that's opened a lot of doors for us in terms of what people are willing to try, what types of new technology they're willing to use as well. So there are plus sides. So hopefully that's given you an insight into our approach in partnership with Squiz to developing a human and high performing website for the. It's been a really satisfying process, and one which we feel has been well worth the effort involved. It's something that I think the firm has been proud of, but ultimately it's delivering results, and that's what we're going to be judged on at the end of the day. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the seminars. I hope you find this useful. If you would like to come and talk to us. And if you would like us to, give you an insight into any experiences, I'm sure the guys at Squiz will be able to share my contact details. And the virtual door is always open for a virtual coffee until we get back into the offices. So I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you very much.